Calvin Pearl Titus was a U.S. Army bugler who earned the Medal of Honor for his actions during the Boxer Rebellion at the Battle of Peking. Born in Iowa on September 22nd of 1879, he moved to Oklahoma at the age of 11 to live with his aunt and uncle following the death of his parents. It was in his uncle's traveling church band that he learned to play various instruments. While they were in Vermont, Titus learned about the sinking of the USS Maine. This event prompted him to join the 1st Vermont Volunteer Infantry, as a musician, of course. The destruction of USS Maine resulted in the deaths of 266 crew members and sparked outrage across the United States, believing the Spanish were behind the explosion. Much like the attack on Pearl Harbor, it is no surprise that young, patriotic men like Titus volunteered to defend their nation. However, his unit never deployed in the Spanish-American War before it came to an end. With the war now over, Titus heard that troops were needed in the Philippines, so he enlisted with the regular army, being assigned to Company E of the 14th Infantry Regiment. He wrote, "When they discovered that I played the cornet, I was in, since the unit was in need of a bugler." Due to his religious background, he was able to form a deep friendship with the unit's chaplain, Leslie R. Groves Sr., becoming his unofficial assistant. In the year 1900, the Boxer Rebellion in China had reached and besieged the legation quarter in Peking, now known as Beijing.
'Twas called the Boxer Insurrection, a bloody Oriental war against all nations of the diplomatic corps. The flags of France and Britain, how they fluttered in the breeze, the Italian and the Russian, and the flag of the Japanese. Then came the sound of bugles, the rolling drums of doom, and the streets of Peking were as empty as a tomb. The Empress of all China gave the signal to begin. Let the foreign devils be driven from Peking. They stormed the French legation, they attacked with shot and shell, and they came in blood-red blouses, screaming "Shao!" as they fell.
The 55-day siege of the international legations would eventually be relieved when the 8-nation alliance arrived. Among this alliance was Titus and the 14th Infantry Regiment. On August 14th, 1900, they arrived at the Tungpien Gate along Peking's outer wall. They immediately came under fire from the top of the wall and the adjacent Fox Tower. The unit's commander, Colonel Aaron S. Daggett, needed troops to lay down suppressing fire and immediately called for volunteers to scale the 30-foot fortifications. Titus stepped forward and said, "I'll try, sir." Then, with a rope slung over his shoulder, began to climb. I took off all my equipment and started up. The wall was made of brick of some kind. The mortar had fallen out in places, making it possible for me to get finger and toe holds in the cracks. About halfway up, a convenient bush grew out of the bricks, and that also helped some. At last, I got to a point where I could look through one of the notches, or firing ports, at the top of the wall. It was empty. I slid over the top and onto the floor behind. To my surprise, I saw no one. Colonel Daggett later described watching Titus make the climb. With what interest did the officers and men watch every step as he placed his feet carefully in the cavities and clung with his fingers to the projecting bricks. The first 15 feet were passed over without serious difficulty, but there was a space of 15 feet above him. Slowly he reaches the 20-foot point. Still more carefully does he try his hold on those bricks to see if they are firm. His feet are now 25 feet from the ground. His head is near the bottom of the embrasure. All below is breathless silence. The strain is intense. Will that embrasure blaze with fire as he attempts to enter it? Or will the butts of rifles crush his skull? Cautiously, he looks through and sees and hears nothing. He enters, and as good fortune would have it, no Chinese are there. When Titus reached the top, the rest of the company followed him up, then used their rifle slings to create some sort of rope hoist for their weapons and ammo. Once the American flag was flown from atop the wall, it inspired the Allied soldiers to overtake the gate and secure the city. For these brave actions, Titus was recommended for and awarded the Medal of Honor. His citation reads, "Gallant and daring conduct, in the presence of his colonel and other officers and enlisted men of his regiment, was the first to scale the wall of the city." His mentor, Chaplain Groves, also received a recommendation for the Medal of Honor for his actions during the Battle of Peking, but he was not chosen to receive it. This did not bother him, as he couldn't be prouder of young Titus. He is a modest chap, fine-looking and afraid of nothing but wrongdoing, a quote sourced from a letter to his wife. This fearlessness soon earned Titus a place in the United States Military Academy, where President Teddy Roosevelt presented him his medal as a first-year cadet during West Point's centennial celebration, reportedly saying to the young man, "Now don't let this give you the big head." After the ceremony, Titus was also approached by a second-year cadet, a young fellow by the name of Douglas MacArthur, who remarked, "Mister, that's something," as he looked upon his Medal of Honor. Upon graduating, Titus returned to the 14th Infantry in the Philippines as a second lieutenant, eventually becoming an ordained minister and attempting to become an army chaplain. However, his denomination was not yet recognized by the army, and so he instead changed his career field as an officer to the now official position of chaplain's assistant. It would be another 60 years before his church would merge to form the Wesleyan Church, among the over 200 denominations now recognized in the U.S. Armed Forces. His mentor, Chaplain Leslie R. Groves, just so happened to have a son by the name of Leslie R. Groves Jr., who went on to lead the Manhattan Project and oversaw the construction of the Pentagon.
Are we saying there's a chance that when we push that button, we destroy the world?
The chances are near zero.
Near zero.
What do you want from theory alone?
Zero would be nice.
There is some serious military history cinematic universe building going on here. I wonder if anyone else made a cameo in this man's life and they just didn't document it. Titus went on to spend 32 years with the Army, fighting forest fires in Montana, chasing Pancho Villa through northern Mexico, and helping rebuild France after World War I. He taught Reserve Officer Training Corps cadets at Coe College in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, not too far from where he was born, retiring as a lieutenant colonel in 1930 and passing away in a veterans hospital in San Fernando, California at the age of 86. He is buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Hollywood Hills, Los Angeles. "I will try, sir," became the rallying cry of the 14th Infantry, and is the current motto of the 5th Infantry Regiment. The container ship MV Lieutenant Colonel Calvin P. Titus is named in his honor, carrying cargo to U.S. military units all over the globe. And his own bugle can be found on display at the museum in West Point.